जय राधा माधवा, जय कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ, जय गिरिवर धारी, जय गिरिवर धारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यमुना तीरवनचारी, जय यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधवा, जय कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। राधा माधव राधे, जय जय जगन्नाथ, जय जगन्नाथ, जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा, जय जय जगन्नाथ, जय जगन्नाथ, जय जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा। नित्य गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, नित्य गौर हरि बोल। जय जय प्रभुपाद, जय जय प्रभुपाद, जय जय गुरुदेव, जय जय गुरुदेव। जगन्नाथ बलदेव माई की जय, नरसिंह भगवान की जय, पंच तत्व की जय, षड गोस्वामी की जय, गुरु परंपरा की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की, श्री गुरुदेव चिंता हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God Narayana, unto Naranarana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhu Mataji, welcome all of you, and thank you for joining and keeping the appointment with Krishna today, 25th of September 2024. So, today I've been given the opportunity to glorify the Lord through this verse from Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 7th chapter, verse number 33. So actually, this recitation of this verse is totally different. It's not doesn't fit in any of our. So it's okay if it's not possible. I will just try. I also got it from my one of my god sisters. Patnyauchuhu yajñoyam tava yajanayakena srishto vidvasta pashupatinadya dakshakopat tamnastam shavashayanava shantamedham यज्ञात्मन्नलिनरुचा दृशा पुनीः पत्न्यौचुः यज्ञोऽयं तव यजनायकेन सृष्टो विध्वस्तपशुपतिनाद्य दक्षकोपात् तं नस्त्वं शवशयनावशान्तमेधम् यज्ञात्मन्नलिनरुचा दृशा पुनीः पत्न्य ऊचुः यज्ञोऽयं तव यजनायकेन सृष्टो विध्वस्त पशुपतिनाद्य दक्षकोपात् तं नस्त्वं शवशयनाव शान्तमेदम् यज्ञात्मन्नलिनरुचा तृषा पुनीः. Any one of you want to try? It's totally different, which normally we do.
Hare Krishna.
May I make an
Go ahead, Mataji. Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Patnyauchuhu yagnoyam tava yajanayakena srishto vidvastah pashupatinadya dakshakopat tam nastvam shava shayanabha shantamedam yagnatman nalinaruchadrisha
Very
punihi.
bold, very bold, very nice. Thank you. Yes, Balaji Prabhu, you also wanted. Please do. Go ahead.
I will try. Hare Krishna.
No.
Patyauchuhu
Patnya, patnya.
Pantyauchuhu.
No, it is patnya, patnya.
Okay. Pantyal.
No, patni. It is patni, no? Patnya.
Pa in is there, no? Pa in it. Right?
No, that is no. Patnya. Pati. Patnya.
Oh, okay. Patyauchuhu. Patyauchuhu.
Yes.
Yajñoyam tava yajanayakena srishto vidvasta pashupatinadya dakshakopat tam nastvam shavashayanava shantamedam yagyat mannalina rucha drusha punihi.
Hari bol. Very nice. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we go to the word meaning. Patnya Uchuhu, the wives of the executors of the sacrifice, said, Yajnaha, the sacrifice, I am this, Tava, your, Yajanaya, worshipping, Kena by Brahma, Srishtaha, arranged, Vidvastaha, devastated, Pashupatina, by Lord Shiva, Adya, today, Daksha Kopat, from anger at Daksha, Tam, it, Naha, or, Tvam, you, Shavashayana, dead bodies, Abha, like, Shanta Medham, the still sacrificial animals, Yajna Atman, O Lord of sacrifice, Nalina, lotus, Rucha, beautiful, Drisha, by the vision of your eyes, Punihi, sanctify. Translation and purport by His Divine Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please hear the translation purport. The wives of the performers of the sacrifice said, My dear Lord, this sacrifice was arranged under the instruction of Brahma. But unfortunately, Lord Shiva, being angry at Daksha, devastated the entire scene. And because of his anger, the animals meant for sacrifice are lying dead. Therefore, the preparations of the yajna have been lost. Now, by the glance of your lotus feet, lotus eyes, the sanctity of this sacrificial arena may be again invoked. Purport. Animals were offered in sacrifice in order to give them renewed life. That was the purpose of having animals there. Offering an animal in sacrifice and giving him renewed life was the evidence of the strength of chanting mantras. Unfortunately, when Daksha's sacrifice was devastated by Lord Shiva, some of the animals were killed. One was killed just to replace the head of Daksha. Their bodies were lying about, and the sacrificial arena was turned into a crematorium. Thus, the real purpose of yajna was lost. Lord Vishnu, being the ultimate objective of such sacrificial ceremonies, was requested by the wives of the priests to glance over the yajna arena with his causeless mercy, so that the routine work of the yajna might be continued. The purport here is that animals should not be unnecessarily killed. The purport here is that animals should not be unnecessarily killed. They were used to prove the strength of the mantras and were to have been rejuvenated by the use of the mantras. They should not have been killed as they were by Lord Shiva to replace the head of Daksha with an animal's head. It was pleasing to see an animal sacrificed and rejuvenated, and that pleasing atmosphere had been lost. The wives of the priests requested that the animals be brought back to life by the glance of Lord Vishnu to make a pleasing yajna. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Gyantamanandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shri Vishakhavitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yonta Pravishya Mama Vacham Imam Prasuptam Sanjeevayati Akila Shakti Dharasvadhamna Anyam Chahasta Charana Shravanatvagadin Prana Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Mukam Karoti Vacharam Pangam Nandiri Girvetkapatam Namo Vishnu Krishna Krishna Bhutalishwari Mahashku Samiti Namne Namo Vishnu Krishna Krishna Bhutalishwari Bhakti Vilas Namne Irvishashwani Vatsali Shane Jai Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna Prabhu Mataji, welcome all of you again for this Srimad Bhagavatam session. So this chapter is entitled The Sacrifice Performed by Daksha. In the previous chapter was Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. See, most of you might be attending so many classes, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, so many sessions, and also reading Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, right? There's one point we have to always understand and also keep it in mind thoroughly. That is, this reading of scriptures, such as Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, this is not a competition. It's not a competition that so that we may master them. Okay. So this reading of scriptures of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is a process of purification to become devotee of the Lord. And moreover, most important is reading should not make one proud. Oh, now I know everything. It should not make proud, but it should change one's behavior for the better. So it is B for Bhagavad Gita, B for Bhagavatam. So it is B for behavior. Ultimately, all these verses and everything is basically to change your behavior for the better. See this chapter from verse number 26 till 47. Various demigods and others, they have been, and Brahmanas, they have been praying. Wonderful prayers, each of them. See, 26th verse is prayed by Daksha. The priests, 27th. The members of the assembly, 28th. Lord Shiva, 29. Shri Bhrigu, 30. Lord Brahma, 31. King Indra, 32. The wives of the performers of sacrifice, 33. That's the verse which we will be discussing today. The sages, 34. The Siddhas, 35. The wife of Daksha, 36. The governors of various planets, 37. The great mystics, 38 and 39. The personified Vedas, 40. The fire god, 41. The demigods, 42. The Gandharvas, 43. The Vidyadharas, 44. And the Brahmanas, 45, 46, and 47. So all these, they're all there in the arena where everything was about to take place and it was devastated and all these difficulties had happened, right? So often. So all these prayers, each of them were glorifying Lord Vishnu. So this proves, right, that Vishnu is the supreme, that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Correct? In fact, the 48th verse, Maitreya is saying, after Lord Vishnu was glorified by all present, Daksha, his consciousness purified, arranged to begin again the yajna, which has been devastated by the followers of Lord Shiva. So today we'll be discussing this verse number 33, 4733. It is this prayer is done by the wives of the performers of sacrifice. So wives' prayers, we have seen other wives' prayers, Brahmana's wives, then Kaliya, when Kaliya Madana was being happening, wives of Kaliya, right? So many wonderful prayers. Okay, everybody is listening. Fine, listening is fine. But how many of you are listening with rapt attention? Because sometimes mind deviates, right? Mind is here and there, although you may be there in the program. Correct? So how to make people listen Srimad Bhagavatam with rapt attention? Especially this chapter. So for that, the last verse, 61st verse, gives a Falashruti, the benefit of hearing this Katha. So Maitreya Muni, so it says, the great sage Maitreya concluded, if one hears and again narrates with faith and devotion, this story of the Daksha Yajna, as it was conducted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, then certainly one is cleared of all contamination of material existence, O son of Guru. So if you hear and again narrate with faith and devotion this the story of Daksha Yajna, then one is cleared of all contamination of material existence. So this is Falashruti. So Hare Krishna, Prabhupada Mataji is, see, we spend our whole lifetime thinking and worrying what others are thinking about us. वो मेरे बारे में क्या सोचेगा, क्या सोचता है, right? It's a fact that everyone who knows us is going to have some opinion about us, correct? So some people who meet us for the first time, they form their opinion based on how we behave in that period of our meeting. even though that behavior may be based on pressures of that situation, correct? So many people who have never met us, they form opinions based on what they have heard about us from others. So such is the nature of the material world. But when we hear something critical about us, especially from someone with whom we have been having a long, loving relationship, it becomes very, very hard to deal with it, right? If there is any truth in the statement, the right way is to rectify ourselves. Correct? Very difficult. Easy to preach, right? If there is any truth in that criticism, whatever the others say, the right way is to rectify ourselves. And if there is no truth in it, what will you do? Go and fight with him? Revenge? No. We have to let it go. Thinking that everyone has got the right to have their opinions. But that should not trouble me from my continuing with my sadhana. But instead of doing this, what happens? Our ego hurts. Our ego gets hurt. And we cause ourselves grief by brooding over that, always thinking about that. Oh, you said that about me. I never expected this from you. Okay. My Guru Maharaj always insists that we should never expect anything from anyone. And he said a saintly man can become a thief, and a thief can become a saintly man. But our mind is full of expectations. Therefore, we lose all our happiness and peace. See, we find from the scriptures, no, that all great saintly persons and even demigods have been criticized. Not to talk of this, even Lord Krishna was blamed in the pastime of Shamantaka jewel. If you read in the Krishna book, you can very nicely see the wonderful pastime there. See, the way out of this very wonderfully explained, the way out of this problems there is very nicely explained by Lord Shiva in this chapter, in the first, 29th verse. See, King Daksha had insulted him in many ways, and he had become angry and had frustrated the entire ceremony, sacrificial ceremony. So later, when he was pleased, the yajna performances were reinstituted, and therefore he regretted his activities. And he speaks the following beautiful verse for all of us to contemplate, 4:7:29, where Lord Shiva is telling, my dear Lord, my mind and consciousness are always fixed on your lotus feet, which, as a source of all benediction and fulfillment of all desires, are worshipped by all liberated great sages, because your lotus feet are worthy of worship. Worthy of worship. With my mind fixed on your lotus feet, I am no longer disturbed by persons who blaspheme me, claiming that my activities are not beautiful. I do not mind their accusations, and I excuse them out of compassion, just as you exhibit compassion towards all living entities. Very nice prayer with Lord Shiva, right? See, we are nowhere in the exalted and purified position of Lord Shiva to excuse other living entities out of compassion. But Srila Prabhupada gives a very practical solution, which is applicable to all the living entities, right? In his brilliant purport of this 4729, he says, now Lord Shiva says that because his mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord, Supreme Lord Vishnu, he is no longer disturbed by the ordinary critics of his way of life. So from this statement by Lord Shiva, it is understood that as long as one is on the material platform, one is affected by the three modes of material nature. But as soon as one is in Krishna consciousness, one is no longer affected by such material activities. So one should therefore always be fixed in Krishna consciousness, busy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So it is guaranteed that such a devotee will never be affected by the actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature. So this factor is also given in Bhagavad Gita, right? Anyone who is fixed in transcendental service of the Lord has surpassed all the material qualities and is situated in the status of Brahman realization, in which one is not afflicted by hankering for material objects. So the recommendation of the Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should always be Krishna conscious and should never forget his transcendental relationship with Krishna. So Prabhupada says this program has to be followed strictly by everyone. This program has to be followed strictly by everyone. So from the statement of Lord Shiva, it is understood that he was always in Krishna consciousness. Thus he remained free from material affliction. The only remedy, therefore, is to continue Krishna consciousness rigidly. in order to get out of the contamination of the material modes. So instead of embracing the negativity by getting affected by others about others' criticisms, right? Which will definitely weaken us. But we should not strive to embrace Krishna consciousness. I mean, we should strive to embrace it because we should not get weakened by the others' criticisms. We should embrace Krishna consciousness because which is a positive emotion and which will strengthen us and purify us. So what happens? See, everybody is running in this very world for success, and sometimes they get failures also. And many of them don't know how to accept failures. They already been told to get 100% this, good job, good marks, right? But what happens when we meet unexpected failures? One, we overly expect something from either ourselves or our relations. And when our expectations are not met, we become sorry, morose, frustrated, and disappointed. That's the first one. Second, we find it very difficult to meet and answer all the people who inquire about the failure. Suppose if you fail, many people come and know what happened, why. So it's difficult to meet and answer all the people who inquire about the failure. And especially from such a person who has never met defeats. All the more difficult. Third one, we do not accept the outcome as a providential arrangement. We do not accept it. It's Krishna's plan. Number 4, we start blaming the people and circumstances for all that has happened instead of blaming ourselves. Number 5, we start to counteract such reversals. 6, we completely forget our spiritual positions and we enter into the darkest regions of material anxiety. Kunta, not Vaikunta. And number 7, our precious time is spent without being engaged in devotional service, and therefore we fall down. So this is the whirlpool. This is a whirlpool which we undergo for some material endeavor. And this results in the greatest loss, by putting us into the clutches of material contamination. So we have to only by Krishna consciousness we can overcome all these failures and even tolerate the failures, tolerate criticisms, tolerate and adjust and tolerate. This is the only two. This is a slogan we should have. So any circumstances, any relationship can be very nicely we can go ahead with this. There won't be any difficulties, any relationship, any circumstances, not at all. Tolerate, adjust, tolerate. See, we should understand that any failure in our life, see, please understand this. Any failure in our life is not the end of our life. We should not be overconfident about our strength and capacities while undertaking anything materially or spiritually. Don't be overconfident. See, whatever happens in our lives, we should see the Supreme Lord's hand behind the whole situation and accept and cooperate with Krishna's plan instead of sticking to our own plans. So this makes us realize the importance of praying to Krishna constantly for protection and blessings to carry out our duties. So in Bhagavatam 3:9-24, Lord Brahma prays to Supreme Lord to creative energy. Beautiful prayer. The translation goes like this. Brahma is praying, Lord's potencies are innumerable. As he lies down in the water of devastation, I am born as a total universal energy from the navel lake in which the lotus sprouts. I am now engaged in manifesting his diverse energies in the form of the cosmic manifestation. I therefore pray that in the course of my material activities, please hear this, I therefore pray that in the course of my material activities, I may not be deviated from the vibration of the Vedic hymns. So Prabhupada makes things very clear when he says in the purport, every person engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is prone to so many material activities. And if one is not strong enough to protect himself against the onslaught of material affection, he may be diverted from the spiritual energy. See, in the case of Lord Brahma, he wanted protection from the many, many vicious living entities which he would be creating. Right? So we should pray for the protection because we need more protection with our own mental concoctions and non-cooperation with the Lord's plans, right? The only way to get out of this morose situation is to always remember this prayer and especially the last line. Maririshta nigamasya giram visargaha. Maririshta nigamasya giram visargaha. I may not be deviated from the vibrations of the Vedic hymns. See, as far as we are concerned, transcendental sound vibration is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the verses of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and the nectarian translations, the purpose of Srila Prabhupada. Transcendental sound vibration. So they are readily available with all us, with us all the time, right? And they are like the roadmap, which guide us in the right track. And when we are caught up in the confusing past, this Prabhupada's purports, translations, they guide us. See, let us always remember the golden words of Prabhupada in his purport 4730. We are really discussing 33, just the 3 verses before 30, where Prabhupada says, ignorant personalities or conditioned souls, have no choice but to accept their precarious condition under material nature. The only remedy is to surrender to Vishnu and always pray to be excused. One should depend only on the causeless mercy of the Lord for deliverance, and not even slightly on one's own strength. That is the perfect position of a Krishna conscious person. You should always pray. Be excused. We're always confused. We don't know, we're bewildered, right? Just like Arjuna was in the battlefield. Then ultimately pray. 2.7 verse, Karpanya Dosha, to seeking Krishna's help to give him the right guidance. So the Lord is everyone's friend, but he is especially friendly to the surrendered soul. The simple process, therefore, is that the conditioned soul should remain surrendered to the Lord, and the Lord will give him more protection to keep him out of the clutches of material contamination. So in this verse, the purport, 4733, which we read, the purport proposal says, animals were offered in sacrifice in order to give them renewed life. That was the purpose of having animals there in the yajna arena. Offering an animal in sacrifice and giving him renewed life. What was that? Was the evidence of the strength of chanting mantras. That was the power of those brahmanas and all those sages who recite those mantras. So power, they can give them new life. See, in 4.13.25 purport, Prabhupada says, a Vedic sacrifice is not an ordinary performance. The demigods used to participate in such sacrifices. And the animals sacrificed in such performances were reincarnated with new life. In this age of Kali, there are no powerful brahmanas who can invite the demigods or give renewed life to animals. We don't have. Formerly, the brahmanas were well conversant in Vedic mantras, and they could show the potency of the mantras. But in this age, because there are no such brahmanas, all such sacrifices are forbidden. So the sacrifice in which horses were offered was called Ashwamedha. Sometimes cows were sacrificed, Gavalamba, not for eating purposes. Please remain, propose it. Not for eating purposes, but to give them new life in order to show the potency of the mantra. In this age, therefore, the only practical yajna is what? Sankirtan yajna, or chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 24 hours a day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. If you started chanting today, 1 round, slowly increase to 2, and to 4, 4 to 8, 12, 16, like that. At least minimum 16 rounds in a day. It takes only 2 hours. In the purport of 446, Prabhupada says, when the learned sages and brahmanas assembled to chant Vedic mantras, some of them also engage in arguing about the conclusion of the scriptures. So thus what happened? Some of the sages and brahmanas were arguing, and some of them were chanting the Vedic mantras. So the entire atmosphere was surcharged with transcendental sound vibration. We could have always seen in our various functions and all, no? So many brahmanas come and they all chant together the Vedic mantras. You can see the transcendental vibration is so wonderful, right? So this transcendental sound vibration has been simplified in the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So in this age, no one is expected to be highly educated in the Vedic ways of understanding, because people are very lazy, unfortunate. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended the sound vibration Hare Krishna mantra. And in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32, it is also recommended. Yajnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Sumedasaha. At the present moment, it is impossible to gather sacrificial necessities because, why? Because of the poverty of the population and the lack of knowledge in Vedic mantras. Therefore, for this age, Kali age, it is recommended that people gather together and chant Hare Krishna mantra to satisfy Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is accompanied by his associates. Indirectly, this indicates Lord Chaitanya, who is accompanied by his associate Nityananda, Advaita, and others, right? So that is the process of performing yajna in this age. Another significant point is that there were animals for sacrifice. That these animals were meant for sacrifice does not mean that they were meant to be killed. The great sages and realized souls, they assembled, who were there, they were performing yajnas, and their realization was tested by animal sacrifice. Just as in modern science, no, Prabhupada says tests are made on animals to determine effectiveness of particular medicine. So the Brahmanas interested with the performance of yajna were very realized souls. And to test their realization, an old animal was offered in the fire and rejuvenated. That was the test of a Vedic mantra. So the animals gathered were not meant to be killed and eaten. Animals, they were not meant to be killed and eaten. The real purpose of sacrifice was not to replace the slaughterhouse. It was not for a result, but to test a Vedic mantra by giving an animal new life. Animals were used to test the power of Vedic mantras, not for meat. That's what people are misusing now. So the Sankirtan Yajna is recommended. Yajna Sankirtan Prayer Yajanti Sumedasaha. 11.5.32 Bhagavatam says, right? See, after all, sacrifices are executed. Please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yajnarth Karma. So such activity should be carried out for the Supreme Lord's pleasure. In this age, the Supreme Lord, in his incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, should be worshipped with his associate by performance of Sankirtan Yajna. That is the congregation chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this process is accepted by intelligent men. That's why it says, again Sankirtan prayer, Yajati Sumedasa. So the word Sumedasa refers to intelligent men who possess very good brain substance. Prabhupada says, who possess very good brain substance. This is in the, I think, 575 purport. See, in one of the classes, Prabhupada was talking about ahimsa. Ahimsa means not arresting the progressive life of any living entity. Ahimsa means not arresting or stopping the progressive life of any living entity. So one should not think that since the spirit spark is never killed, people say the soul is not never killed and all. One should not think that since the spirit spark never killed, even after the killing of the body, so there is no harm in killing animals for sense gratification. This is what people argue. So people are now addicted to eating animals, in spite of having an ample supply of grains, fruits, and milk. So there is no necessity for animal killings. So this injunction is for everyone. See, when there is no other alternative, one may kill an animal, but it should be offered in sacrifice. So at any rate, when there is ample food supply for humanity, persons who are desiring to make advancement in spiritual realization, they should not commit violence to animals. Prabhupada says real ahimsa means not checking anyone's progressive life. So the animals are also making progress in the revolutionary life by transmigrating from one category of animal life to another. So if a particular animal is killed, then his progress is checked. If an animal is staying in a particular body for so many days or so many years and is untimely killed, then he has to come back again in that form of life to complete the remaining days in order to be promoted to another species of life. So how much sin we are doing by killing. So their progress should not be checked simply to satisfy one's palate. No, this is called ahimsa. So in the current verse which we're discussing, the purport Prabhupada says, unfortunately, when Daksha's sacrifice was devastated by Lord Shiva, some of the animals were killed. One was killed just to replace the head of Daksha. So their bodies were lying about, and the sacrificial arena was turned into a crematorium. Because the real purpose of yajna was lost. See, in this connection, it is to be noted that the device used for killing animals in the sacrifice was not designed to facilitate eating their flesh. The killing was specifically intended to give a new life to the sacrificed animal by the power of Vedic mantra. So animals were sacrificed to test the strength of Vedic mantras. Yajnas were performed as a test of the mantra. So even in the modern age, tests are executed on animal bodies in the physiology laboratory. Similarly, whether or not the Brahmanas were uttering the Vedic hymns correctly was tested by the sacrifice in the arena. On the whole, animals thus sacrificed were not at all the losers. Some old elements would be sacrificed, right? But in exchange for the old bodies, they received others, new bodies. So that was the test of Vedic mantras. See, in the purport of this verse, the 433, Prabhupada says, Lord Vishnu, being the ultimate objective of such sacrificial ceremonies, was required. Sorry. Lord Vishnu, being the ultimate objective of such sacrificial ceremonies, was requested by the wives of the priest to glance over the yajna arena with a costless mercy so that the routine work of the yajna might be continued. So yajna means how to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu's another name is Yajnapati, Yajneshwara. So the Bhagavad Gita is clearly stated, Yajnartha karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana, 3.9 Bhagavad Gita. So people have to be trained up to work for yajna, yajnartha, right? So if you do not act for the satisfaction of the Lord, Supreme Lord, then you become bound up. Karma bandhana. See the importance of devotional service. Narada Muni says in Bhagavatam 4:31-11. Without devotional service, what is the meaning of severe austerities? Without devotional service, what is the meaning of severe austerities? The process of hearing, the power of speech, the power of mental speculation, elevated intelligence, strength, and power of the senses. See, without devotion, what is all the use of all these things? So whatever we do, whatever we think, whatever we speak or hear about, if it is not related to Krishna's service, then all such things are completely useless. So Prabhupada used to quote a very nice from the Narada Pancharatra. I think in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 11.18.4, he has quoted this in the purport. In Narada, it is in Narada Pancharatra. Aradito yadi haris tapasa tata kim. Na aradito yadi haris tapasa tata kim. Antar bahir yadi haris tapasa tata kim. Nantar bahir yadi haris tapasa tata kim. If one is worshipping the Lord properly, what is the use of severe penances? And if one is not properly worshipping the Lord, what is the use of severe penances? If Sri Krishna is realized within and without everything that exists, what is the use of severe penances? And if Sri Krishna is not seen within and without everything, then what is the use of severe penances? Very powerful. See, in the pastime of Yajnapatnis, that is Brahmana's wives, if you would have seen that, in that pastime we can see that their husbands, the Brahmanas, no, they were all very well versed in Vedic scriptures and were very austere. But when the Gopas came and asked for food, because Krishna and Balaram were there, they asked, go and ask for, because they were very hungry. They refused to give the Brahmanas and were busy continuing with the sacrifice. They did not even bother to reply to the request of the Gopas. So Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book, chapter 23, all their activities are useless because they do not know the purpose of the Vedas, as it is explained in Bhagavad Gita, that is to understand Krishna. So in spite of their advancement in Vedic knowledge and rituals, they do not understand Krishna. Therefore, their Vedic knowledge, their knowledge of the Vedas is superficial. So when Krishna suggested the Gopas to approach the Yajnapatnis, their wives, Gopas could very easily see the loving devotion which these women had for Krishna. As soon as they heard Krishna's names, they became very anxious. So Prabhupada continues in the Krishna book. These reactions were spontaneous. The moment Gopas came and told Krishna and Balarama are feeling hungry, they need food. Immediately, they are spontaneous. They did not have to be convinced of the importance of Krishna and Balaram. Immediately upon hearing their names, they became very anxious to see them. Being advanced by thinking of Krishna constantly, they are performing the greatest form of mystic meditation. Constantly they used to think. So what did they do? They packed all pots of prasadam, very eagerly went with the Gopas to personally hand it over to Krishna. neglecting all the restrictions of the family members. So when they had darshan of the dearmost Lord Krishna, right, he entered into their hearts through their eyes. So the Lord appreciated the surrender and sacrifice and loving devotion, and later advised them to return back to the family. Now the Yajnapatis did not want to leave the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, but the Lord assured them that their family would not reject them when they return. Yasmin tushte jagat tushtam. When Krishna is satisfied, everyone is satisfied. So being pure surrendered souls, the Yajnapatis returned home and they could notice the transformation in the behavior of their family members. Brahmanas appreciated the pure devotion of their wives and regretted for their losing the wonderful opportunity to serve the Lord. So Prabhupada in his Krishna book very nicely writes what the Brahmanas felt. Said the Brahmanas are telling, they are feeling, to hell with our being born Brahmanas, to hell with our learning all Vedic literatures, to hell with our performing great sacrifices and observing all the rules and regulations, to hell with our family, to hell with our expert advice, service in the performing rituals, exactly the description of scriptures. To hell with it all, for we are not developed transcendental loving service to Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the speculation of mind, body, and senses. This is what they were feeling. For not gaining, the opportunity was not utilized. See, Lord Krishna's pastime of another beautiful again. See, wives praying, right? Brahmana's wives in this 33rd verse. Then we saw Brahmana's wives of the Vrindavan pastime. And another one is in Kalia's, right? Past chastising, Krishna is chastising serpent Kalia, who contaminated the waters of Yamuna river, with his fiery poison. It's simply wonderful. See, to restore the purity of the Yamuna's waters, Krishna jumped into the water and began fearlessly playing within the water like a mad elephant. So Kalia could not tolerate Krishna's trespassing his personal residence. So the serpent quickly went up to the Lord and bit him on the chest. Then Krishna expanded his body greatly, right? And forced the serpent to loosen his grip and release him. Then the Lord, what did he do? Krishna trampled the serpent's hooves until his body slackened. So he was vomiting blood from his mouth. So Kalia finally understood that Krishna was the primeval personality and he took shelter of him. See, on hearing the prayers of the Nagapatnis, Krishna released Kalia. And when Kalia acknowledged his offense, Krishna told him to leave the Yamuna, and he gave him the assurance that because Kalia was now marked with Krishna's footprints, Garuda will no longer try to eat him. So we find that Kalia had actually committed grave offenses by polluting waters and thus posing danger to the lives of the cows and cowherd boys who are extremely dear to the Lord, right? On top of that, envious Kalia furiously bit Lord Krishna on the chest also. If somebody gives so much of pain physically and emotionally, immediately we tend to become extremely revengeful, right? But here we find that Krishna shows so much tolerance and he did not retaliate, even though he could have killed Kalia for all the offenses. So Krishna's punishment was only to the extent of purifying Kalia's heart. That's why the wives of Kalia's serpent prayed in 10:16:34 in Bhagavatam. They say, what you have done here is actually mercy for us, since the punishment you give to the wicked certainly drives away all the contamination. Indeed, because this condition so, that is our husband, is so sinful that he has assumed the body of a serpent. Your anger toward him is obviously to be understood as your mercy. So Krishna, being the Supreme Father, he loves all the living entities. Just as a father becomes angry and gives some punishment to the unruly child, just so that he will behave nicely. The so-called punishment by Lord Krishna is only for bestowing mercy upon the conditioned living entities to purify them and bring them to the right consciousness. See, there is no enmity or hatred or revengeful attitude behind that. Krishna has so kindly forgiven Kaliya once he repented for his offense. Very important. We have to repent. Then only, repented for it. And also, as the most merciful father, assured him of his future safety from being attacked by Garuda. See, in the material world, we are subject to so many agitating situations when people are inimical and envious. In those situations, we always tend to react and retaliate and also carry the revengeful attitude within us. But Krishna shows by this pastime that we should remain tolerant and be ready to forgive and forget and not develop an inimical attitude. We can see that while submitting to the Lord, Kaliya says in Bhagavatam 10:16-58, Kaliya is praying, O Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, among all the species within your material creation, we serpents are by nature always enraged. Being thus deluded by your illusion and energy, which is very difficult to give up, how can we possibly give it up on our own? So when different people act differently, thus agitating us, we should remember Prabhupada's statement in his purport 1:5-10. See, nobody will be same, right? There's no life, but it will be very difficult. So different people act differently, and they agitate us also. So we should remember this wonderful statement in his purport by Srila Prabhupada in 1:5-10. Nature has influenced different species of life with different mentalities. Nature has influenced different species of life with different mentalities. And it is not possible to bring them up into the same rank and file. It's not possible to understand this and continue your life. So we have to realize that on our own, we can never become free from the mentality to be envious or to instantly react negatively to any situation. We cannot be free. We have to just beg for the mercy of Krishna, who can only free us from all these undesirable tendencies. So we see in the purport, no, the wives of the priest requested that the animals be brought back to life by the glance of Lord Vishnu to make a pleasing yajna. See, in the 41st verse, which will come later on, in the purport last line, Prabhupada says, as Lord Vishnu appeared at the Daksha Yajna long ago, right? He appeared at the Daksha Yajna long ago, very long. Whereas Lord Chaitanya appeared in this age to accept our Sankirtan Yajna. See, a sacrifice is a ceremony performed to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, it is stated that everyone should try to understand whether the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied by his activity. So the aim of our activities should be to satisfy Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. It's just like in an office, no? It is the duty of the worker to see that the proprietor or the master is satisfied. So everyone's duty is to see that whether Krishna is satisfied by one's activity. Activities to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna are prescribed in the Vedic literature. And the execution of such activity is called yajna. In other words, acting on behalf of the Supreme Lord is called yajna. So one should know very well that any activity besides yajna is the cause of material bondage. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 3.9. We saw that yajnartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Karma bandhana means if we do not work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, then the reaction of our work will bind us. So one should not work for his own sense gratification. Everyone should work for the satisfaction of Krishna. That is called yajna. So after the yajna was performed by Daksha, all the demigods expected prasada. That is the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Vishnu. Lord Shiva is one of the demigods. So naturally, he also expected his share of the prasada from the yajna. But Daksha, out of his envy of Lord Shiva, neither invited Shiva to participate in the yajna, nor gave him his share of the offering. But after the destruction of the yajna arena by the followers of Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma pacified him and assured him that he would get his share of prasada. Thus, he was requested to rectify whatever destruction was caused by his followers. That's why in Bhagavad Gita 3.11 it is said that all the demigods are satisfied when one performs yajna. Because demigods expect prasada from yajnas. So yajna must be performed. So those who engage in sense gratificatory materialistic activities must perform yajna. Otherwise, they will be implicated. Prabhupada says in the purport of, I think, 4653, he says that. So Daksha, being the father of mankind, was performing yajna. And Lord Shiva expected his share. But since Shiva was not invited, there was trouble. So by the meditation of Lord Brahma, everything was settled satisfactorily. The performance yajna is a very difficult task because all the demigods must be invited to participate in the yajna. In this Kali Yuga, it is not possible to perform such costly sacrifices, nor is it possible to invite the demigods to participate. Therefore, in this age, it is recommended. Yajna Sankirtan Prayer Yajanti Sumedasaha 11.5.32 Bhagavatam. Those who are intelligent should know that in the Kali Yuga, there is no possibility of performing Vedic sacrifices. But unless one pleases the demigods, there will be no regulated seasonal activities or rainfall, right? So everything is controlled by the demigods. So what to do? Under the circumstances in this age, in order to keep the balance of social peace and prosperity, all intelligent should execute the performance of Sankirtan Yajna by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Prabhupada says one should invite people, chant Hare Krishna, and then distribute prasad. One should invite people, chant Hare Krishna, and then distribute prasad. Maybe in the temple or your center, at your own house also. Maybe you can call within your family members, you can sit and do that, or call your neighbors, friends. That's very so. Invite people, chant Hare Krishna, and distribute prasad. So this yajna will satisfy all the demigods. It is a guarantee given by Prabhupada, right? This yajna, Sankirtan yajna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, will satisfy all the demigods. And thus there will be peace and prosperity in the world. Another difficulty in performing Vedic rituals is that if one fails to satisfy even one demigod, out of the many hundreds and thousands of demigods, just as Daksha failed to satisfy Lord Shiva, there will be disaster. Right? We saw in the past time. So, but in this age, the performance of sacrifice has been simplified. One can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And by pleasing Krishna, one can satisfy all the demigods automatically. We stop here. Thank you, Varun Kumar. Hare Krishna. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions or anything, you can please share. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
After that, after chastising Kalia snake, Kalia was advised to leave Yamuna and go away.
Wherever he wanted, but I don't know where exactly. But he asked him to leave that place. Right?
Yes, yes.
So even if he leaves, because he was afraid of Garuda, he's just a serpent, right? So you don't kill. So, but he assured him, protected. No, Garuda will not do anything because Krishna's footprints are there in the serpent because he danced, right? In
So
the
already he got
yeah.
the protection from Krishna.
Krishna, yes.
It's very nice, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
No problem. Thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you, Aryan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So the sages had the mystic power to judge that these are the animals should be killed for sacrifice,
Yes,
and they have to be renewed.
Correct. That's right. They can do that. Yes. They were very powerful. They could see through, right? They realized source. Not like now. You're just doing maybe, may not be, always doubtful. It may happen, it may not happen. It is relative. But there it was absolutely. They were doing very perfectly. Their mantra is so powerful, right? Especially pronunciation is very important. Unless you don't pronounce even a little bit wrong, then it will not happen. So that is the power of the mantras in those days.
I think the example was that Kumbhakarna, I think, no? He asked for something else. They asked for Nidra. So he was keep on sleeping.
Sleeping. Correct.
A little bit of thing instead of Nitra, he asked for Nidra, something like that.
I don't remember that. Okay.
Very.
Yes.
So not like what the animals are not for kill and eat, but it has to be for the purpose of the sacrifice.
So very much we can very much see now, right? This is the purpose. Yes, Prabhuji Mataji, can I? Nothing else is there? I can stop, or if you want to speak anything, you can go ahead. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Aryan Prabhu.
Prabhuji, one question was there.
Yes,
so you just said that because Lord Shiva was not invited to Yagna, he got angry, right, Prabhu?
Yes.
So there was also a story now, where Mata Sati, she went on the fire and
same thing. It's the same pastime. It is the same pastime. Because of that only it is to. Otherwise, initially, Lord Shiva just left the arena. He didn't react and all. But Mother Sati, that is, his wife went without, because Lord Shiva said, don't go. But he went. because she was also not invited. But she went because Daksha is her father.
Okay.
But there she was not given the respect or anything. So she also felt why her husband is not invited, not given the proper respect. So Daksha even did not bother about even her daughter also. So she said, okay, I don't want to be your daughter because I feel very bad coming from your body. It's not very. So she gave up her body in the fire in that arena. And because of this, Lord Shiva and his followers, they devastated the whole arena and all. But ultimately, Lord Brahma came and pacified Lord Shiva. And then then Daksha again they all met and started performing the yajna again. And that's why all the prayers are coming in this. Daksha is praying, the sages are praying, everybody one by one. And today we saw the patnis of those Brahmanas who were there. They were also praying to Krishna to please proceed with this yajna. Otherwise, there are animals who are dead just like that, right? We should not be. So they have to be revived. So only by a glance of the Lord they could perform this one. Okay, Prabhu. Hope it is useful.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Purus Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Shantagunda Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Dandavad Pranam, Prabhu. Very nice class today.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Good day, Vijay Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Okay, Hari Bol. Thank you. So I close now. Hare Krishna. Anant Kodi Vaishnava ki jai. Vancha kalpatarupischa. Kripa sindhu bhaiva cha patitam pavani bhivashti.